Hey, thanks for joining today. We've got a great show for you. I'm going to talk about an idea that I call the Purity Guillotine. It's a fun name. And we'll go through some of the news stories that are happening right now. Hope you got your coffee. But this idea, I think, is pretty good. Now, the reason I came up with it, a couple of dummies online. I shouldn't call them dummies, right? A couple of popular people, Dave Smith and Kim Iverson, have making some points, and this is my response to that. Basically, they don't really understand how politics works, but we'll get into that more. So, looks like we're live. Let's get to it and get into the Purity Guillotine. Right now, the United States is at war with Iran. Maybe Congress hasn't used the official words yet. Maybe the TV graphics still say escalation or conflict. But when American bombs are falling and Iranian leadership has been killed, well, we're past the point of pretending that this is a diplomatic misunderstanding. This is war. And right on cue, something else has begun. A ritual that happens in every political movement sooner or later. It's the purity test. Some pundits are now demanding that Tulsi Gabbard resign as Director of National Intelligence. Why? Because she built her reputation opposing regime change wars. And she's inside the administration that's fighting one. Now, on the surface, that sounds morally consistent. But strategically, it's one of the dumbest ideas imaginable, because politics is not a church. It's a coalition, and coalitions are built out of imperfect allies. People who agree on some things disagree on others and still work together because the alternative is worse. The moment you demand ideological perfection from everyone inside the tent starts shrinking. Moderates leave, pragmatists leave, the people willing to argue behind closed doors, they leave. And eventually, the only people left are the ones who never opposed the war in the first place. That's a pattern I call the purity guillotine. It's the moment when a movement starts executing its own imperfect allies in the name of moral clarity. And the irony is brutal. The people cheering the purge, they think they're protecting the cause. But all they're really doing is making sure the room where decisions are made gets quieter and quieter and quieter until one day the war machine looks around and the table looks around the table and realizes something wonderful has happened. There's no one left to argue, and the bombs can finally fall in perfect silence. Because when you start executing every imperfect ally, don't be surprised when the only people left in power are the ones who wanted the war all along. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffee Nuance Show, your favorite streaming show, live right now. Flame on. Yeah, the purity guillotine. If you want to read, I wrote an article on this, and I published it. My first article published on X. So you can go to my X account at Coffee Nuance and read it if you're interested in those kinds of things. But today I want to introduce you to this concept that I call the purity guillotine. And it's a pattern that just shows up again and again in politics, activism, revolutions. You get the drill. That's the moment movements start with a clear goal. They start with enemies, but at some point, something weird happens, right? the movement stops focusing on the enemy and it starts looking inward, and it begins executing its own allies. Not because those allies oppose the cause, but because they're not pure enough. That's the purity guillotine. So here we are. You can see this dynamic playing out right now. Right now we're at war. Maybe not officially, but essentially we're at war. American bombers are dropping bombs. Naval forces are sinking warships. Leadership of Iran has been killed in coordinated strikes. And the ritual starts, right? Pundits like Dave Smith and Kim Iverson listen to their hot take where they say that Tulsi, if she, F Tulsi Gabbard, if she had any integrity, she would step down. Because she built her reputation on being against regime change war. Someone opposes war. Why are they still inside this administration? Resign, step down, prove your purity. And that's where this danger begins. First glance, the argument might sound morally consistent. If you're a child, okay? If someone opposes these wars, shouldn't they protest? Shouldn't they resign? But strategically, this logic is so short-sighted because politics is not a morality play. It's a power structure, right? And power structures, they don't operate on moral purity. They operate on influence. Sometimes the people inside the system are the only ones capable of slowing what happens next. Now, this is the moment the guillotine turns inward. Instead of judging whether you support a cause, you're judged whether you perfectly embody the cause. Someone's not strong enough. Someone's compromised. Someone didn't fight hard enough. Someone didn't tweet. Feels righteous. And sometimes something important is happening. The movement is starting to cut away its own power. Okay, so to this point, politics, not a church. A lot of people, like Dave Smith and Kim Iverson, they don't understand what politics actually is. A church demands moral perfection. Politics is a coalition. Coalitions are messy. They're made up of people who disagree about thousands of things, but agree on a few important ones. That's how power is built. And the moment you demand moral perfection from every member, the coalition begins to shrink. Now, purges usually follow a real predictable pattern. Moderates, they leave first, then pragmatists, then the people willing to challenge decisions from inside the system, and who's left? The most rigid ideologues. Movements that purge imperfect allies eventually purge their own power because influence requires people who can operate within the system. So let's walk through the logic, right? Assume critics get exactly what they want. Assume Dave Smith and Kim Iverson get what they want, right? Tulsi resigns. They're removed from the system. What happens next? Does the war stop? Of course not. The only thing that changes is that the few internal voices capable of slowing down the escalation, they're gone. The system just lost friction. When moderating voices disappear, a vacuum forms. And the vacuum never stays empty. It gets filled by people who are more comfortable with escalation. So ironically, right, the movement that demanded the purge may have just accelerated the outcome that it feared. Purity tests are seductive because they feel righteous, right? The signals loyalty to the tribe. They demonstrate moral clarity. But the difference between moral signaling and strategic thinking, right? Moral signaling asks, who's guilty? Strategic thinking says, what outcomes does this produce? Movements caught in purity spirals feel morally energized, even as the real influence collapses. So think of the room, right? Inside administrations, debates happen behind closed doors. Intelligence claims get challenged. Escalation plans, they get questioned. Those arguments matter. They slow decisions. Sometimes they prevent catastrophic ones. But if every dissenting voice is driven out, the room becomes quiet, very quiet. And when the room is quiet, decisions move faster. When the room's quiet, policy moves fast. Escalation becomes easier. The machinery of war runs smoothly because the friction that once slowed it is now gone. And sometimes that friction was the only thing preventing disaster. So history offers a warning about purity politics. Once the blade starts falling, it rarely stops where people think it will. Today, it might be one person. Tomorrow, it might be another. Because purity is a moving target. And movements that embrace the guillotine eventually learn the same lessons revolutionaries have learned throughout history. The blade never runs out of heads. The purity guillotine, it doesn't eliminate bad actors. It eliminates moderating actors. And once they're gone, the extremists don't even need to win the argument. They're the only ones left in the room. Now, let's look at where we might be seeing this dynamic play out in real time. Okay? So let's go to our news today. All right. There we go. What's up, chat? Flames and coffee in the chat. Hashtag Rumble Gang Gang. What's up, John? All right. So let's look at this story here from the BBC. Iran's high-risk war strategy seems to center on endurance and deterrence. You might not be hearing this on CNN. But Iran is adopting a strategy of endurance, believing it can withstand attacks longer than the U.S. can tolerate the costs of this. And this approach reflects Tehran's confidence in its resilience and its ability to absorb strikes. This was analyzed by BBC's Amir Azimi. So the point here is that Iran believes that it can endure these military strikes and that they've been preparing for this for decades. Do we how much how many bombs does the United States still have, right? Are we going to have to put boots on the ground? You know, you can check Polymarket on that, but I think it's about 30% say yes by the end of the month. But what was revealed in this article is that Iran is going to play the long game. And all of this talk about this will be over in a couple of weeks. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. And this isn't just about military might, right? This is not that Iran is this great military superpower or anything. This is a psychological game, right? And Trump, I think, thinks that this is going to be a very, very short mission. And Iran is like, no, we're not playing this. We're playing the long game here. So we're just going to have to see, will Trump be able to endure like Iran plans to endure? It'll be interesting to see what happens, and also to see the shifting talking points that are in the coming weeks like at the end of the month, what do you think the talking point is going to be from the U.S.? Yeah, we'll just have to see. All right. What else we got? Oil prices surged to highest since 2023. Whew. They've soared to the highest level in 2.5 years. This spike raises concerns about inflation and economic stability. Experts, gotta love the experts, warn if the tensions escalate, we could see even steeper increases at the pump. Yeah. Isn't it ironic that war leads to rising oil prices, but peace never seems to fill our tanks, right? I don't know. Crazy. Maybe we should be considering energy independence, right? Is that something we can think of? More than we are? Nah, probably not. Probably not. Okay. What else we got today? Oh, Western energy pressure on Russia has backfired, according to the Kremlin. Now, I got this. You can see this is from RT. You can go check them out on YouTube. Oh, no, you can't. You can't because they've been banned from YouTube. Because, I don't know, you might find something a little bit more accurate than CNN or Fox News. Anyway, it's interesting. Dmitriev, Kremlin envoy, he claims that Western energy sanctions against Russia have backfired and that countries maintaining ties with Moscow have made a wise choice. He argues that these sanctions have totally failed to weaken Russia's economy and instead strengthened its alliances with other nations. And I can't really argue with that. I mean, that's kind of what's happened. It's as if political talking points are just that. Not always based in reality, right? Yeah. But, think about it, right? If Western sanctions are really strengthening Russia's alliances, should we double down on it, right? Or maybe we should isolate to a more isolationist point of view. I mean, if it's working for Russia, maybe it would work for us too. I kind of think it would. Many people called that America First, but we don't seem to have that anymore, right? Right? It's I guess it was Israel first. Is that where we're at now? Yeah. Anyway, we could redefine the narrative, though. And it's important to decide who we decide to punish. And maybe we ought to reflect and see if what we do actually works. Because so far, this hasn't seemed to work as far as with Russia. Has it? I don't know. Tell me where I'm wrong. Okay, what else we got here? Sanctuary cities sought to protect from ICE nearly 18,000 criminals. Sanctuary cities in the U.S. refused to comply with nearly 18,000 ICE detainers on criminal illegal aliens last year, according to outgoing DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Think about public safety. And the role of local governments enforcing federal laws, right? Well, I saw an article that Portland did that. In fact, all of the Democrats, I think in Oregon, just voted against working with ICE here in Oregon. And let me see if I got this. No. Oh, different phone. Took a picture last night when I was rolling my bins out to the curb. Where's the camera? So I'm here in Portland, Oregon. Let's see if you can see this. I don't know. Let's see. Can you see that there? Can you see that? Oh, that's right. That's a needle that was on the sidewalk right next to my mailbox. Nice. I'm guessing someone just didn't drop the needle. I think they probably just used the needle and then they just tossed it to the side. So I had someone shooting up in front of my house. That's what we have here in Portland, right? And the fact that all the Democrats do not want, if we have actual violent criminals, instead of releasing them to Immigration Customs Enforcement so we can kick them the hell out of here, the Democrats in Oregon have decided that they don't want to do that at all and release violent criminals back into the streets. So, good job. Good job on that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just getting mad now. Let's don't get mad, Tom. Let's just go on to the next story, right? Yeah. Trump's team has brokered a gold deal with Venezuela, securing between 650 and 1,000 kilograms of gold bars for U.S. markets. It's a multi-million-dollar agreement, and this is supposed to stabilize Venezuela's economy, redirecting resources from black market smugglers to the Venezuelan government. Critics argue this reflects U.S. imperialism, because that's pretty much what it is. And Trump is just claiming this as one big victory, because that's what he does. Right? And you know things are bad when even gold bars are looking for a way out of Venezuela. Right? Get out of here. I don't want to stay here. Anyway, this isn't just about like shiny gold bars. It looks like Trump's going from like sanctions to an economic partnership with people that want to play ball in Venezuela, because we need people in Venezuela to play ball so that we can go take all their resources, right? It's hard to take all the resources of Venezuela if you don't have partners, local partners. So that's what this looks to be. Trump's setting up some local partners so corporations can go in and loot the country, or I don't know, however you want to phrase that. Do a business deal with the locals, right? Yeah. Okay. This is a crazy, and it comes down to the idea of, for some Democrats, anything the Trump administration wants to do is bad. They'll take the opposite of anything the Trump administration wants to do. Well, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey is clashing with RFK Jr. over high sugar beverages. Yeah. Believe it or not. Because he's targeting iconic brands like Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. Kennedy is looking to reform food safety regulations, challenging loopholes that let companies self-verify food additives. Now, you would think that Democrats would be in support of health initiatives, but pretty much this looks like one big party line fight. And yeah, this was her response. Here we got Star, Duncan, come and take it. That is her response. Come and take it. That was used at the start of the Texas Revolution, right? So this is the irony here, right? You got Democrats defending sugary drinks. Okay. I get it. The Trump administration is for something, you're against it. How childish is that? I don't know. Because it's not like this governor is all in favor of like freedom and, libertarian choice or anything like that. Oh, no. Yeah, you can just imagine her as Mel Gibson, right? You can't take my sugar. You can take my sugar, but you'll never take my Duncan, right? So, yeah, now it looks like the Democrats are more committed to sugary drinks than to health. I don't know. Bizarro world that we're living in today. Oh, man. What else we got? Okay. And I've made this claim many times. It was all a mirage. 2.5 million native-born U.S. workers were just revised away. And the Trump administration does this, but not just him, right? All administrations do this. This is standard operating procedure. Biden did it too. Obama did it too. But a recent job report revealed that the increase in native-born U.S. workers, touted as a success by Trump's policies, was largely inflated. Yeah, what else is new? Right? Bureau of Labor Statistics revised its figures, showing a dramatic decrease of 2.5 million native-born workers, effectively negating claims of significant employment boost. Right? This is what happens. They put out numbers. It looks good for the current administration. And then later, they revise those numbers down. Why do we accept this? Because we do. That's what we do. We just accept this BS. But it's not just, again, all administrations do this. Revising 2.5 million jobs down. Can you imagine, right, if Biden revised 2.5 million jobs down? Oh, probably MAGA would think that was a big deal and evidence of collusion and evidence of being corrupt. Well, what now, right? What now? Oh, man. What else we got here? This is just an idea that I want to keep bringing up. Bring it up once a week or so. Just the fact that Trump keeps talking about Cuba. So President said Cuba is going to fall pretty soon, he said. It's going to put Marco over there, and we've got plenty of time, but Cuba's ready. Right? There we got a little meme here. We can... Marco Rubio looking forward to what March brings with Cuba. There we go. And why I bring this story up is because of this bigger idea that if someone keeps repeating something in your life, right, your spouse, your kids, your boss, if they keep repeating something, your friend keeps bringing something up, it's important to them. You could be like, yeah, you told me that already. It's a hint, right? If someone keeps bringing something up, it's important to them. Trump keeps bringing up that Cuba will fall. That's a hint. It's very important to Trump. So don't be surprised when it happens. Oh, dear. Uh-oh. I don't like the sound of this. But Virginia Democrats move to require teaching January 6th as an Insurrection. They're pushing a new bill to mandate teaching that the January 6th Capitol riot was an insurrection while preventing educators from calling it a peaceful protest. Because peaceful protest is trademarked by the deep state. And only riots that they approve of can be called peaceful protests. That's how it works. So, Summer Love, George Floyd, peaceful protests, that was approved of by the permanent D.C. establishment. But the January 6th Capitol riot was not, and so they can't use their term, peaceful protest. They've trademarked that. Can't use it. So is this bill a step toward indoctrination in schools? Too late. It already is. Yeah. But, what this shows is that Virginia Democrats, and nationwide, right, they're not just teaching history, they're rewriting history to fit a narrative, right? So that's what they do. They start in one place. They'll get it through in Virginia, and soon it'll be nationwide. And then it'll be in textbooks that are run by Mossad, right? Shout out to McGraw-Hill and Macmillan books, right? Didn't Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's dad, run textbook companies in 1989? Oh, that's weird. But anyway, I guess we need some good news. So let's get to the good news of the day. All right. Don't know if this is good news. For me, I'm calling it. This is good news. But Colossal Biosciences breeds controversy while trying to revive mammoths. So this is a Texas biotech company I've told you about before. But they want to resurrect woolly mammoths and other extinct species. And they're getting closer and closer, and it raises some ethical questions. Whether you can play God, I don't know. I guess, you are allowed to breed humans to win Olympic gold medals, but, heaven forbid you bring back a woolly mammoth, right? Is that what we want to think here? Is it ethical to bring back extinct species? I don't know. Why not? I think it would be pretty cool. Who knows? Maybe woolly mammoths, we could shave them and use that fur. Maybe it would be maybe it'd be even nicer than cashmere. Don't know. There's only one way to find out. Let's bring back the woolly mammoth. Who knows? Maybe it's tasty. Maybe it's really tasty. Don't know. But I say bring it back. Other people have different points of view on this. But if we're going to bring back woolly mammoths, why not dinosaurs? Right? I mean, I can't imagine where, maybe setting up a big game park and filling it with dinosaurs. I can't see how that would go wrong. Right? There'd be no problem with that. Just setting up a big nature reserve for dinosaurs. I don't know, man. Let's do it. I say, let's go. Let's make it happen. Anyway, that's all I've prepared for you today. So stick around for the after show. I'll go through your comments. Hope you all are doing awesome. I'm glad a couple people could join us today. But, think about this over the weekend. The Purity Guillotine, and see if you can use it. And do me a favor. If you're on X, go over to X and read my article on the Purity Guillotine. Maybe give it a like. Or not. Whatever, who cares? Anyway, have a Have an awesome weekend. See ya. Peace. What's up? What's up? Airway to Steven. Good afternoon. Cheers. Thank God it's Friday. Indeed, indeed. I like the XXX. I like that emoji there. Sulev. Nice. Tulsi is MIA, Tom. Yeah, no, she hasn't tweeted much. Used to tweet all the time. Same thing with JD. JD used to tweet a lot. And shockingly, he hasn't tweeted a whole lot since this whole thing started. What's up, Chaka Chewy? Glad you could join. Yeah, it is a war of attrition. Stephen, that is true. I thought those were taillights to an Edsel. Not sure what that was. Social media, the new mass media, is filled with bad faith actors. Fear and drama sells. War's a racket, right? War's money for people. Doc says, well, the Trump admin sure showed me. And here I thought the Venezuela affair was all about oil. Yeah. You thought it was about oil. They got a lot of resources in Venezuela. A lot. Venezuela actually used to be a very vibrant country. It used to be the richest country in South America. Wait, Tom, labor statistics were positively exaggerated? You mean they lied? Yeah, they did. Sulev says, we are God, make mammoths great again. Yeah, make mammoths great again. I like that. Yeah, we do need some dino DNA. A funny thing how that January 6th insurrection led to the arrest and prosecution of absolutely no one for insurrection. Yeah, you would think if it were an insurrection, there would at least be one person charged with insurrection. But, nope. But if you control all the media, it doesn't matter. You can just make stuff up. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I hope you all have a beautiful weekend. And until next time, peace.